Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Tata Steel 2024. This is the first major chess event of the year. This is the round number 5 recap. It is a 13-round event. We've got incredible names from all over the world, like Liren, the world chess champion. We have Praggnanandhaa and Gukesh representing India. Nepomniachtchi. We have Hans Niemann in the challenger section, my friends. This round was insane. It is a historic chess day. Records were broken. And before we jump into the games today, I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, BetterHelp. Folks, we're all celebrating the new year. Now is a great time to work on yourself and set some goals. These can be concrete, actionable goals, like getting a new chess elo, or playing your first over-the-board chess tournament. But our goals can also be slightly more abstract, relating to feelings or emotions, like being less angry around conflict, or tackling some of our anxieties. Now, this may surprise you, but therapy can actually help you achieve some of these goals you set out for yourself. And they do that by creating SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. And BetterHelp makes starting therapy easier and much less intimidating for a lot of people. You can meet with your therapist by phone call, video chat, or one-on-one messaging. A live one-on-one physical meeting is not even necessary. You simply fill out a questionnaire, and in most cases, you will be matched with a therapist out of their network of 30,000 in just 48 hours. And if you feel like your therapist is not a good match, you can actually change therapists just with the click of a button, and it's no additional cost to you. Make 2024 your year and join over 4 million people that have already started using BetterHelp to live a healthier, happier life. Click the link in the description or visit BetterHelp.com/GothamChess. Using that link will get you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp, so you can see if connecting with a therapist is helpful for you. I forgot to say, let's get back to the video. Thanks, sponsored Gotham. Oh my goodness. Sit back, relax. I'm about to take you to Wakkanzee in the Netherlands. We will begin with the monumental game of the day, the women's world chess champion, Wenjun, taking on Alireza Firouzja, the Frenchman. So French, in fact, that he tries to play a French from the first move of the game. He really did not want to face d4, so he went e6. And he said, you know what, Wenjun? You can play e4. Go ahead and do it, because I'm going to go d5. I don't exactly know what he was trying to avoid, but clearly he just wanted a French. He really wanted a French. He didn't want to play knight f6, and he gets himself a French. Now, here, Wenjun plays in a very annoying way. Like, a French player's worst nightmare is to get hit with a symmetrical exchange French, because there's a lot of lines in chess, right? And, you know, she spent 2 minutes. She spent 3 minutes roughly, because she gets bonus time on this move. So she took her 3 minutes to decide, you know what, let's play a French, but then let's take. Right, and then there's this. And the problem with the French exchange is that black is playing a completely symmetrical position, but black goes second. So black needs to spend the entire game catching up. The only way to win a position like this is to play very aggressively and take risk. Like, there are certain variations in the exchange French where white plays bishop d3, and then black plays knight c6, and plays knight e7, and then, you know, tries to castle queenside and creates a big fight. But Wenjun kind of knows that she's playing a young man, right? She's playing Alireza, and he's 27-60, and he might just try to play for a win at all costs. So she's baiting him into a boring positional struggle. If you take, you're playing like a queen's gambit accepted. He plays knight f6. He's waving the red flag in front of the bull. He's like, go ahead, play c5. She does. Takes space, pushes his bishop backwards, and then they both castle. White has a tiny space advantage on this side of the board. It's not really anything, because black can always play b6. He's going to go here. He's going to develop his knight, put pressure on white's center. White is going to try to remove the bishop, okay? Then develop, and develop like this. So she's supporting her center, and she's supporting her knight. You'll notice both of them are already spending a lot of time. I think both of them are relatively unfamiliar with this position. You know, instead of playing queen f3 and allowing her pawn to be doubled and blocking her own bishop by playing knight d2, she could commit her knight to the c3 square. For some reason, I can't draw arrows, right? She can commit her knight to the c3 square. But instead of doing that, she plays it like this, and she spends about 15 minutes doing that. And the position is rock solid. However, Alireza does not have a lot of forward mobility. He can't really move his pieces forward. His plan here could be to trade the light squared bishop, undevelop this, and plop a knight into e4, and then try to reposition and fight back on the queen side. So Wenjun now says, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to target your queen side. I'm going to target this knight, and I'm going to unpin myself and go over here. Worst case scenario, we trade some pieces, and I'm fine with that because I'm because you're 27-60, right? Like, at the end of the day, I'm okay with that. Alireza takes, but again, she kind of knows who she's playing, right? Alireza could just sit back, try to solidly defend himself. No, he plays bishop g5. Very provocative stuff, allowing the knight to get taken, to damage the structure. She does, in fact, do that. White can't just go and take this pawn, because if white does that, you're going to lose material over here. So instead of that, she just plays rook e1 and exchanges. And the resulting position is one where white has some long-term potential pressure, will put the knight on the e5 square, but black can always play f6. So, like, you know, f6, knight f3, your knight's never going anywhere, right? Black will just defend himself, put pressure. And we might have an interesting endgame where white puts a bunch of pawns on dark squares. In all likelihood, we're headed toward a draw. Rook e1, they trade everything, queen e8, and now she plays rook e1, and the idea could be to play e4, which Alireza promptly shuts down. Says no e4 for you. Maybe I'll go queen g6. I'm still gonna try to attack you. Remember, Alireza's trying to win the game because he's got a high rating, and he's young, and he might be playing the player and not the position. He plays f4, getting really aggressive. She plays queen f1. She gives up this pawn, and the intention is to play queen d3, so the pawn can't move because you would take the queen. Pawn comes down. And now white can play knight f3. Actually, computer gives g4 as a major advantage for white, trying to trade the queens and go to an endgame where black's pawn structure is not going to do him any favors. He caused damage to his own structure early in the game for hopes of long-term compensation, but he's not going to get it. Now, instead of playing g4 and weakening her king, she plays this, which makes a ton of sense. She wants to play rook e2, and now Alireza can play queen e4 and bishop takes knight, and both of those lead to slightly unpleasant endgames for him, where black will likely hold. Instead, he goes here. And it's not exactly clear what he missed, because after knight to g5, his queen is hanging, and queen h7 is a threat, so he has to trade the queens. And now, white is much better. The computer doesn't even fully reflect this. It's over +1 in terms of evaluation. White is going to have tremendous long-term pressure. This bishop is not going to touch any of these pawns, because they're all about to go on the dark squares. And now, Wenjun is just going to go to work. Black cannot defend his pawn. Alireza is a pawn down. This is absolutely insane. He tries to create counterplay with his rook. She re-centralizes the knight and puts another pawn on a dark square. Now it's time for the next phase of the game. She's going to defend her own pawns. He creates counterplay. She puts another pawn on a dark square. She's now got 5 out of 6 pawns on a dark square. She now has 6 out of 6 pawns and 8 out of 9 pieces on a dark square. So Alireza's bishop is completely useless. Now, it's still holdable, but king d2, she's looking for a way forward. b3, she makes a break. Now she has a passed a pawn. Bishop g2, the rook goes to e3. She's looking for a way to make him make a move. King e1, rook b3, king f2. And now in this position, Wenjun does something that might go down in the history books as one of the greatest endgame calculations of all time. Look at this position. I'm going to try to explain this to you to the best of my ability. Here we go. In this position, she can play rook e1, attacking the bishop and forcing a sequence. Or she can play rook e5, forcing g6, and then play rook e1. One of them is a win, one of them is a draw. If Wenjun plays immediately, instead of rook e1, an attack on the bishop, if she does this and keeps the pawn here, what will happen is bishop here, knight here, check here, rook f3, take here, rook a3, rook e4, and in this position, black will set up a defensive fortress. So the only winning idea is to move the rook and win the pawn, and that will go here, 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 rook d5, rook g5. But this is a draw because the king gets there in time. The difference between what she does in the game and what I just showed you was a 13 move long sequence, 26 moves in total. And she calculated that if she forces the pawn here, which is what happens in the game, and then she does the exact same thing, the difference is black already spent a move. Black already spent a move doing that, defending his pawn. And what happens is after king f2, c6, king g2, Alireza cannot do the same thing because rook e5, rook d3, rook g5, rook d4, rook g6, rook d5, rook g5, rook g5, hg, king e6. White's king gets there. The difference in what I showed you in the game is the positioning of the king by 1 square. This is otherworldly level calculation. This is Magnesian. Dare I say, he's not playing in the tournament. I know you guys are all, Levy always says Magnus. This is that type of, this is crazy. The fact that she calculated rook e5, black invests a tempo, and then that's what's gonna happen in this game. Alireza realized it, went here, and it didn't matter because he went on to lose the endgame anyway. Rook d6, king here, black is already down a pawn, he's gonna lose another one. Wenjun, women's world champion, defeats 2760 rated Alireza Firouzja. This is maybe her this is definitely her highest win ever. In this tournament, she has played a series of games against the highest rated people she has ever played against. Look, in chess, men and women don't play each other a lot at this level. They just don't. We're not gonna get into that now, but that's just the way it is. That's the way it's always been. Clearly, we gotta do events like this more often because that was unbelievable. You know what else was unbelievable? This game. Eline Roebers, I don't know. Dutch folks, y'all gotta get me once and for all how to say her name, versus Hans Niemann, who I think is like half Dutch, by the way. So, you know, I don't know. His name's easy to pronounce, though. Hans Niemann is tied for first in the challenger section. Eline has 0 points. She has played 4 games. She has as many points as me. All her games are very combative. They're very exciting, but she hasn't gotten on the scoreboard. It's just been a rough event. I had a tournament once. I lost all my games. I went 0 out of 4. It's a rough feeling. And now she has to play the highest rated player in her section, who starts out with a Karo Khan, a man after my own heart. Bishop e3, she plays like a sideline of the advanced variation. Hans plays knight e7. Now we have a little bit of a pawn lock on the queen side. Both players very much on their own. Very, very big maneuvering game. All the pieces on the board, no trades. She plays bishop d1. She plays bishop d2. Eline plays chess like an avalanche. Like snow is going to start pouring down a mountain if she gets an initiative. And by the way, so does Hans. All right, so she kicks out his knight, she stabilizes, and now it's kind of like, okay, if neither side wants to get in a fight, they won't. Like, both sides can just shuffle. Hans says, let's get in a fight. I'm rated 2692. I'm tied for first. You're 0 out of 4. I got to take over. Listen, I'm sorry. It's nothing personal. She takes, and now the position begins opening up and plays bishop f4, and black is better. Actually, if black plays d4, which he does in a moment, like, black's better. I mean, he's taking over the game. He's got the active bishop. He's got the active rook. And I mean, yeah, we're headed to 0 out of 5 territory. I mean, highest rated player in the section. I don't think she's the lowest rated. I think there might be 1 or 2 other people, but like, she's had a rough event. That's just how it is. She plays bishop b5. She takes control of the light squares. Hans plays here, building the pressure, takes the pawn on c3. Now Eline has this weakness on c3. Hans rotates his knight around. I mean, just a great game. A great game. Vintage Hans performance, getting another win on the board. But she never stops fighting back. I mean, she plays rook c1. She plays here, right? Queen f3. Hans tries to remove the bishop, and I mean, she has lost a key defenders. 3 of her 5 pieces are stranded on the back rank, but she's just defending. She's just playing stubborn chess. This is not the kind of game that she likes to play. She wants to attack. She plays fiery chess, explosive chess. She's on the back foot here. She's got to play c4. Hans making all of white's pawns just come forward and get stuck in the mud, and now it's just going to be a matter of time till he converts, right? Well, she's defending herself. I mean, she's got weaknesses, but they're not falling anytime soon. Rook d6. Wait a minute. What just happened? Suddenly a rook is like plopped into black's position. That's weak. That might be weak in the long run. I mean, these rooks are biting on granite. Who the heck is going to get rid of this bishop? Rook d8. And we cross 40 moves per player. And Hans goes here. And those little pieces that were standing on the first rank, she gets rewarded for her excellent stubborn defense. They're gonna go stand up to the bullies now, because they're all very well coordinated. And if Hans takes the rook, she's getting a passed pawn. These pieces look good, but they got no targets. Hans plays knight d5. She just takes. He goes here, take, g4. The second Eline was given a chance, 45 moves into the game, there was a tactical opportunity that presented itself. he's stuck. If bishop g6, take, and you can't take, bishop e4, you lose the queen. And out of nowhere, a tactical skirmish leads to Hans Niemann being down on knight. And it goes from bad to worse, because now the king is under a violent attack. She doesn't trade the queens. She plays queen f7, he gives the check, but the black king is completely defenseless. It doesn't matter who you are here. Queen c2, rook c3, this is mate. The king is safe. Rook d8, queen b3. Hans Niemann resigns to a fork. Eline Roebers she went 0 out of 4. She just beat a 2700. This is what I'm talking about. Welcome to Tata Steel. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Where did that come from? She was in an unpleasant position for like 36 moves. It was just Hans finding, and it was just a matter of time. He just couldn't find the knockout. Like somehow, look at this. You got the whole squad monitoring a pawn. Just defending. But he just couldn't break through. Excellent defensive resourcefulness from her. Turned into really nice offense. She just beat her highest, this is the highest rated player she's ever played. And she beat him. Crazy. I got some more games for you. This is Parham Maghsoodloo, Ding Liren. This game was bananas. Parham Maghsoodloo is having a rough event. Ding Liren's having an okay event. He just lost to Prague, and he plays the same exact type of way that he did against Gukesh. You probably don't remember that game because you remember nothing. But that's okay. He played like this against Gukesh, all right? He got this very aggressive setup. This is a very common Italian setup nowadays. You know who came to fight today, though? Parham Maghsoodloo. Ding Liren played g4, attacking Parham's knight. My man Parham went here. He said, Ding, that's a free horse. Go ahead. And I looked at this when I woke up and I went, yo, Ding Liren looks absolutely rolled and smoked in this position. How is he going to defend himself? Look at this. I mean, we are a moment away from a complete knockout. Rook f8. Now, if you play knight d5 in this position, I actually sack my queen. I actually don't mind this because I get a knight, and a bishop for the queen, and computer says it's equal. But that's not the point. The point in this position is that white can actually start playing moves like knight f5. Knight f5 check. First, he can play queen g3 and then knight f5. But knight f5, bishop takes, queen takes. And then you got like d4. You try to bring the rook in. f4, you try to bring the rook in. You can't hang your king, but you play king h1 first. But Parham spends a long time, and instead of continuing the attack, he goes here. He spends 27 of his minutes, and he gets the king off the center line, but it gives Ding just enough time. Now Ding controls g4, and he's bringing his rook to the party, and at the end of the day, Parham's down a knight. So he goes here, plays knight d5. Ding has an opportunity to sack his queen, but we get this position, and the game very quickly peters out. We get a repetition of moves in a game that looks set to explode. I mean, Parham spent 27 minutes and decided, I'm not going to go for it. That would have been nuts if he got a win versus Ding Liren to stop his bad streak. Praggnanandhaa versus Anish Giri. These guys are winning the event. Prague opens with a Jobava London. Knight c3, bishop f4. Anish plays a symmetrical London. Not a symmetrical because obviously the knight placement is slightly different. And then we get c takes d3, this setup of doubling your own pawns. Opening gets super dank early on. In this position, Anish Giri, rather than developing or castling, undevelops his knight to its home square because white wanted to go e4, e5. So he repositions his knight to e7 before. I mean, this is like if kids are watching this, you can't play chess like this. Never play chess like this. Prague takes some space away on the queen side, repositions his knight, and then plays a fantastic positional move. Queen a3, volunteering a queen trade and a doubled isolated structure, which would allow him to pressure with his rooks. And early in this game, this looked like a positional masterclass waiting to happen. We had a big exchange. We had knight coming to e5, rook c1. The pawn is looking like it's going to perish. Anish has to create counterplay really quickly, which he does. Rook c1 takes. Prague is looking ready to just win this game. No questions asked. h3, h6. But just like in the Hans game, sometimes it's hard to find a way through. So he goes queen d1. He tries to reposition and go the other way, maybe pressure down the center line, but it gives Anish just enough time to start creating some counterplay. White had good pressure the whole game. Pressure on d5, pressure on c6, but Anish defended himself, rook d6, and Prague decides to trade. Prague could have played rook c7, And actually, I'm not really sure why he didn't. Maybe he saw a ghost, he didn't want to get checkmated, but he has a very comfortable plus 0.6. He could buckle down and try to play 5 more hours, but instead he trades the pieces and probably thought he had something, but the players just repeat moves and then they go to a knight endgame and king f1 and draw offer, draw greed. Pragg looked also, just like in the previous game, set to put on a lot of pressure. A very surprising decision here to trade the rooks. Very surprising, but clearly he was not as optimistic about his position as the guy who's sitting here with a stockfish evaluation, right? So it's one thing to like play the game, the other thing is this. Now, 2 decisive games to end the day. Marc, Andria, Maurizzi, French Grandmaster versus Jaime, Santos, Latasa. This game was bananas. This was a Catalan in the challenger section, a closed Catalan, black playing in it. This doesn't even look real. It straight up looks like white is mouse slipping. Bro, he just went b4. If white can play b4 in a Catalan, the Catalan is ridiculously OP because you just put pressure here. Look at what he got. This is not what a Catalan is supposed to look like. A Catalan is a slow, sophisticated, maneuvering, positional game. What the hell is this? Who set off the trampoline of pawns that you're just allowed to throw at your opponent in the game? Queen c8. Now, finally, Jaime Santos says, all right, bro, I've had enough. There's no way this is possible. Knight takes d5. The horse has broken through the stable. It can be captured 3 different ways, but there's nothing you can do because if you take it, I will take on b4. If you take it with a knight, then I will take here. And when you take here, of course, I'm going to take the pawn and cry. Of course, I'm going to take the bit. In this position, Marc-Andrea sacrificed his other knight! Knight takes f7! This is a circus. This is a circus. Every single piece is hanging. Everything is hanging, and knight d6 is a fork. And if you get out of the position, first I'll take your rook, then I'll take your pawn, I'll take everything. Knight takes f7 is unbelievable, and he attracts the king into the center. He says, come to me. King takes. Now I take the bishop. And now we have this moment where black goes, oh, I'm cooked. I'm completely cooked. There's nothing I can do. What do you defend against? How do you possibly defend this position? Black is up 2 points of material, but the king is butt naked. He's just running around the board. Somebody get him back into his house. King f7. He brings the rook. Oh, this is real bad. These rooks are open and attacking. What are these bozos doing? They're stuck. They're not moving. Bishop b5. Now we start hunting the king from the diagonal. Queen b3. Look at this. Like a serpentine. Queen a2. Queen a3. Queen b3. Then we go to e3. Then we go to f4. And then we take. And now the black position falls apart while the king is suffocating the rook in the corner. Black has this Rubik's Cube going on over here. What the heck is happening? He takes. And when it's all said and done, it's over. You cannot take back. Because I would take, simple move. I get the king out of the corner, I win the rook, I win the game. Marc, Andria, Maurizzi, they should mint this game. All right, that's what they should do. Rook takes d7 and you can't take because queen c4 check and I make a queen. Bro, take a bow. I don't even, just... That's what he should have done. That's what he should have taken a bow. Can you imagine the level of disrespect and chess drama we would get if a man took a bow in the face of another man? Dear me, this was one of the most gangster games I've ever seen in my life. Dude played a Catalan, then played b4, a4, a5. This doesn't even look real. And then he developed all his pieces and just absolutely slaughtered his opponent. Like, oh my God. I got another game for you before you go, by the way. Gukesh versus Nepo. Implications of who could win the first place prize. We have CD, CD, Queen d4. This is an isolated pawn opening. Black is going to try to push the queen back. White develops. And a few moves later, white actually does not mind getting his queen hit because he can move out of the center. Bishop d7, and the game is going to be played where white will put pressure on black's structure. That's what white is going to do. Knight to e5. You'll notice that Nepo has spent almost no time from the opening. Rook c8. And clearly, Jan is giving him a pawn. Gukesh takes it, because it's free. But the cost of that pawn will be an initiative on the other side of the board. While your queen is stranded over here, black will play rook a8. Knight e4, activate the pieces, put long-term pressure on these pawns. That's what he does. I just said that. Rook a8, knight e4. Now we're going to have a trade of bishops. Gukesh takes the knight, gets his bishop taken, Brings the knight back, the bishop comes back, the knight comes back. So Gukesh is a pawn up, 2 knights versus 2 bishops. The position is deemed equal because despite white having a pawn advantage, he's under a lot of pressure. His pawns can't really move. They are symbolic pawns, but it's an equal position. Queen a5, rook d2, bishop d7. But at the end of the day, white is a pawn up. Like, he's got a really solid advantage. So rook b8, queen f3. And if Nepo's not careful and he allows white to get too many preparatory moves, right? White's gonna try to take advantage of certain things. Like, you're staring at these pawns, but you're not taking them. And right now the move d4 probably clears out the board. Probably. We can trade. We can play queen here, take, here, bishop g5, g3. I can get a pawn back, then I'll get this. Like, that move clears out the board. But Jan doesn't play it. Jan keeps the tension. And within the span of a few moves, Gukesh has centralized. And then Gukesh plays b3. So he's not going to let his pawns get taken. Then he puts the knight on a4. Then he brings the queen out to g4. Then he doubles up in the d-pawn. And then, as his rook is attacked, in this position, it's still about equal. Jan misses knight takes c6. The rook is hanging, but the queen is worth more. Gukesh is a GothamChess subscriber. He knows about danger levels. But it's worse than that. It's after rook takes d5. Gukesh now has 3 pawns for the knight, and the queen cannot guard the bishop anymore. So the only thing you can do is fire back. Queen slides over. Rook d6. You can't take the queen. Because if you take the queen, I take with check, king h2, and then I have this move at all times. I'll go here, and I'll fire away from a distance. So we have rook d6, rook takes d6, and when the dust settles, he's up a lot of pawns. Jan can win one of them back, but they're just going. They're just going up the board, and my man, Gukesh, takes down Jan Nepomniachtchi with knight takes g6, threatening to win his bishop and going up multiple pawns in an endgame. And Nepo resigns. Gukesh just beat Jan Nepomniachtchi. Oh my god. Here are your standings after 5 rounds. What an unbelievable day of action. Oh my goodness. Anish Giri still in first place. 4 points. 4 points. Also, Erwin Lamy in the challenger section. But today it was less about these results because it's a tight race and a bunch more rounds to go. Wenjun takes down Alireza Firouzja, and Eline Roebers takes down Hans Niemann with some other monster games behind that. That is just unbelievable stuff. I'll see you in the next video. Get out of here.